Most people believe they don't have their dream body because they don't have the information to be able to achieve it. But the thing is, 99% of people already have all the information they need to be able to build their ideal physique. And with ChatGPT and other AI tools that are coming out nowadays, the 1% who doesn't know, like they're running out of chances to be able to say that because you can literally upload a picture of yourself in the ChatGPT and say, "These are my goals. How can I get there?" And it will create you an exact workout plan and a nutrition process to be able to follow. So it's not a lack of information, it's more of the opposite. Because people get so caught up in the how and when instead of the what and why when it comes to achieving their fitness goals. By doing this, it prevents them from actually taking action because they spend all of their time looking for the perfect workout split that'll help them shed fat and build muscle, even though when applied consistently, almost any split will help them be able to achieve it. Or people use holidays as a reason to be able to stop working out and say whenever the new year comes, then it's finally time for me to get back in the gym. But when you do this, what you're doing is putting yourself into a have do be paradigm, which means you become reliant on external things for you to be able to achieve your goals. And the problem with that is everything is constantly changing. So when you're relying on something that's always changing to feel secure, you'll never feel ready. But when you focus on being, you'll naturally start doing, and the having will follow. So in this video, I'll break down the simplest way for you to be able to achieve your fitness goals by becoming the version of yourself you can so that you can finally build your dream physique in 2026. And if you don't know who I am, hi, I'm Kai. And after a decade of lifting experience, I help men get jacked by shifting their identities, which leads me perfectly into today's topic. Because when I say becoming the version of yourself you can, what I mean is, whatever your goal is, the current version of you cannot achieve it. Otherwise, you would already have it. And I know that sounds harsh, but nothing ever reaches its ultimate potential. It's always in the process of becoming. And who you're becoming is ultimately up to you. When you set a goal, you essentially create a new version of yourself. And the gap between that version and the current version of you is either getting smaller or bigger at any moment. Your thoughts and your actions determine which way the scale leans. And the identity you use to interpret your place within the world determines your thoughts. So by shifting your identity into one that aligns with your goals, your thoughts naturally follow, and you'll be able to start taking action from a frequency that matches what you want to achieve. And you do this by doing what I mentioned in the beginning and shifting your mindset from a have to be perspective to a be to have paradigm. And when you operate from the first perspective, you basically are telling yourself, for me to have X, I must do Y so that I can be Z. And a real example of this would be, for me to have a six pack, I must do crunches every day so that I can be healthy, which on the surface sounds correct. But when you tell yourself you must have something in order to be someone, you're subconsciously telling yourself that you're not already that person. And that creates this gap between who you are and who you want to be. When you act out of a have first perspective, the only thing you can really think of is like, what can I take? You're really focused on the things that you want, like the things that you desire. And this is the lowest level of creation. And this is where most people get caught whenever they're setting up their fitness goals, because what they're doing on paper is right, but since they never upgrade their internal operating system, they slowly revert to their original state once the motivation fades. And if it sounds confusing, then let me explain this really quick. As humans, the only reason we want anything is because we think that thing will put us in an emotional state that is different than the one that we're currently in. And so that's why when I say you set a goal, you're really creating a new identity that you want to show up to the world as. But your current identity is built on past experiences, and those experiences taught you how to fit within the world and how to behave in order to stay safe. So when you start taking actions that don't align with your identity, your mind will do everything in its power to be able to pull you back into what it knows is comfortable. And it does this through like self-sabotage, procrastination, cravings for food you know you shouldn't eat, distractions, lust, emotional overwhelm, really whatever it has to do to be able to bring you back to what it calls safety. But when you upgrade who you're being by shifting your identity, you start acting in alignment with that new identity. And when you do that, you naturally begin to have the things you want. And the cool thing is, it can literally happen as fast as you want it to, because the only identity you hold is the identity that you're conscious of being. So by shifting your attention from the old identity to the new one, you can, in a way, kill the old version of you to be able to make room to step into the new one. But the only way to do this is by becoming crystal clear on what you really want to achieve. So when you say you want a six pack, we now know that You want it because you believe it'll put you in a state that you're not currently in. And for you to figure out what that state is, you're going to have to spend some time with yourself to figure out why exactly you want to shed fat and put on more muscle. Is it because you want to feel proud when you look in the mirror with your shirt off, or you want to be more confident around women, or just feel like an absolute badass whenever you walk in a room? Whatever that reason is, you have to find out what's the motivation behind you wanting to accomplish the goal. Then once you find it, you got to take it a layer deeper. There's a good chance whatever reason you come up with, there's going to be an emotional word in there. Like whenever we look at the examples I gave, you have proud, confident, badass. Like these are all emotional words that make you feel something. What you have to do is find the one that's within your reason that you came up with as to why you want to accomplish the goal. And then you just have to keep asking yourself why that feels important. And you just keep asking yourself that question until you strike a nerve. Then once that happened, you ask yourself one more time, and that's typically when you get to your real emotional driver that is motivating you to want to make the change. And when you figure out what you want to achieve and why you want to achieve it, the last step is to determine who you have to be able to have it. Then you just commit to being that person. And yes, it really is that easy. But because I know a lot of people are going to fight me on this, there's one last thing I want to cover. When we're born, we're all born with two types of genes. We have the first one that we all typically learn about that dictates like your skin color, hair type, what color eyes you have, like that type of stuff. But we also have what's called epigenomes. And this allows the body to be able to turn off and on different genes based on the frequency and quality of our thoughts and actions. This is why you can have two identical twins who grow up in the same environment, have the same job, have the same parent. Everything's the same, except for one is healthy and living their best lifestyle, and the other one is sick and riddled with depression all the time. And there's a book called The Gene in Your Genes that breaks this down in great detail. And in the book, it says that by focusing your thoughts on the things you want in life, we can shape our genes. And as a result, it can shape our brain's microscopic DNA into one that aligns with the person who we choose to be. Which sounds pretty nerdy, but you can pretty much break it down as thoughts that wire together, fire together. So by thinking thoughts that align with the healthier version of yourself, your brain starts to create neural pathways that reveal the new version of you. And so all of that to say, when you choose your what, why, and who, then the how and when falls into place. And this is why if you want to really achieve your fitness goals, you don't need to find the perfect workout plan. You really just need to commit to being a person who works out. And then eventually the best workout plan for you will appear because now instead of you worrying about like, am I doing everything right? All you're worrying about is just like, I said, I'm going to work out today. I'm going to do it. And then when you do that, you essentially start to be more flexible with testing out different workout programs. And then once you do that, you'll finally find one that like, you're like, hey, like this is something that I enjoy. And then once you find one you enjoy and you just keep sticking to it, then that's when you're going to get the results because it's the same thing as like the man who loves to walk. It will always walk further than the person who's walking to a destination. And like that's the biggest thing within like fitness or really anything you want to achieve is that's just being able to consistently show up and just keep putting one foot in front of the other and eventually you'll be able to get there. And so like again, you don't need some fitness guru to tell you like you have to do X amount every single day and like this is the only way you're going to be able to get there. You just have to commit to being a person who works out and eventually everything else will fall into place.